Fragmentation. Fragmentation is my own term to describe various aspects of ourselves which may survive our death, irrespective of there being an afterlife in the religious sense. To begin with, I will discuss cryogenics, not for technical reasons, but from consideration of the probable outcome. Anyone who decides to have themselves frozen would need to be very wealthy. Firstly, to pay for the process itself. Secondly, for the unfreezing process, not as yet as achieved by anyone. And thirdly, money would have to be left in trust for living expenses on coming back. It is this last aspect which I see as a problem. Suppose it was an oilman, knew the oil business inside out, and had large reserves of oil still untapped. He imagines he will come back a wealthy man in 100 years' time, but in all probability the oil will have run out and he will be destitute. Then there is the problem of actually living in the future. Sounds exciting, but we older people are doing it now, and for many it can be very difficult. We go to a place we loved in our youth, and it has changed for the worse, or gone altogether. Even the language has changed, with young people using words or expressions we do not even know the meaning of. And it works the other way around. If I wrote some of the words and expressions which were used quite innocently when I was a child, I would be shut down and locked up. Imagine what it would be like after 100 years. It would be a nightmare. Cloning offers a better possibility, but it is illegal for humans and for good reason. Again, it is only the rich who could afford it. And it would work, but the clone would only be alike in appearance and in inherited characteristics. A large part of a person's personality is from their experiences, and that would be missing. It would be like having a much younger twin brother, nothing more. A further problem is that the wealthy person would arrange for the clone to inherit most of his wealth. But what of his real sons and daughters? It seems most likely that some of these clones would meet with mysterious and fatal accidents before they reached an age to inherit the money. For anyone interested in the subject from this angle, I would suggest they see the film The Boys from Brazil, starring Gregory Peck and James Mason. I must also say that I believe if a thing is possible, it will most likely happen sometime and somewhere, and who knows, there may be a few clones living amongst us now. Let's now consider some other aspects which are not connected to a particular religious view. The will or trust. In its simplest form, we leave our money to someone, probably family or a charity, so that our wishes will be carried out after our deaths. We hope this happens, but we have no guarantee. Sometimes the recipient will just squander the money in a short time. Richard Whittington, the medieval merchant who inspired the pantomime character Dick Whittington, left a large sum of money to look after the poor. These include some almshouses which are still housing poor people over 600 years after his death. Take a more recent example. Howard Hughes, famous aviator and industrialist, formed the Howard Hughes Medical Institute in 1953. Funded by the profits from his Hughes Aircraft Company, the institute had its own laboratories, enabling it to do important medical research. Upon his death in 1976, a board of trustees was formed, so ensuring that his vision to benefit the whole of humanity still lives on today. Genetics, the simplest and oldest of the means by which something of us still survives our deaths. We live on, in part, to our children, and our parents live on through us. It is estimated that there are 16 million men alive today in Central Asia who are descended from Genghis Khan. That man certainly still lives. Memory. When we are gone, we will be remembered, good and bad, by those left behind. The more people we have interacted with, whether friends, relations, or people at work, the more we will be remembered. Put all these different memories together, and it will probably be a fairly accurate picture of our lives as seen by other people. Creativity. Look around. We see this everywhere we look. All man-made objects were designed and made by someone. They may be long forgotten as individuals, but their ideas and work live on. On the tomb of Sir Christopher Wren in St Paul's Cathedral are the words, translated from Latin, "Reader, if you seek his monument, look around you." Even the simplest of actions can be like this. Take the person who has only a few weeks to live and decides to sow some seeds in the garden. Come springtime, when the sun is shining, the flowers will bloom, and something of that person can be seen to still be present in the world. Who doesn't enjoy the old Laurel and Hardy films? We still laugh at some of the things they got up to, yet they have been dead for many a year. But as long as their films are being shown, something of them still lives. I come now to an aspect which is probably the most compelling. Take the really good writers of the past, such as Charles Dickens and Jane Austen. We read their works and get a glimpse of what their world was like. Some of the places they describe have changed beyond recognition, but some are almost the same. The feelings of the characters are the same as we experience today. That is why we still continue to read them. We see their world through their eyes, and if, as we read, we are able to forget about our own personal things, then they can and do live again in us. Momentum. This idea can be a bit tricky to try to explain, but as an engineer it is quite easy. When a moving object comes to rest, its momentum or energy does not just disappear, but is dissipated into the surroundings, usually in the form of heat. But what of the momentum of the human mind, the life force or energy? Where is that dissipated? In the religious sense, it could be what propels us to the afterlife, and this may well be so. But what if it stays on earth? Where does it go then? Could it in fact be for what accounts for all the stories of ghosts and other hauntings? They may not be just the visible effects, such as seeing a ghost, but could be a sound or smell, or some feeling or compulsion, something in the mind of someone still living. I once had two aunts, Elsie and Ethel. One was good at needlework, but the other was useless. When Elsie died, Ethel found she had the ability and desire to do needlework. Could this be something passed on from Elsie? There are lots of ghost stories where the ghost is trying to right some wrong done to them whilst living. They can find no peace until justice has been done. Perhaps they are just that, stories. But if only a few are true, think of the implications. A power which lives on in the living to right a past injustice. And if one person's death can have an effect in this way, what of the deaths of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust? Could their extended life force, combined together, have helped in the eventual defeat of their persecutors, or even in the establishment of the new state of Israel? Maybe it's all just imagination, but if it is true, it's quite a thought. One mind theories. The last one was tricky, but this is worse. I am sat here now wondering how on earth I am going to explain these ideas in just a few short paragraphs. To begin with, there are many such theories, all with different names, which are aspects of either psychology, philosophy, mysticism, or one of the more Eastern religions. In essence, it seems to boil down to this. Suppose a group of people are all watching the same film. Some may like it, others hate it, but their experience of the actual film will be the same. It will be as if they have just one set of thoughts, or one mind, not by telepathy or anything of that nature, but simply by having the same experiences. The same with people travelling along the same road to work. They see the same things and think some of the same thoughts. Take the steps at Whitby. Most visitors to the town will have climbed them and have similar memories of doing so. 199 separate little memories, to be exact. Writing something on the computer is a further example. What we write is of course different for every person, but the act of writing as a combination of small actions, that is, pressing one of a selection of 26 letters plus a few other keys, is the same for all. It is just the order in which we press those keys which makes the finished work different. Even unpleasant things work just the same. We have toothache in a certain tooth, and everyone else who has ever had toothache in that tooth has experienced the same sensations. It is basically the same single experience which is in turn experienced by a large number of people. Sometimes we think of an idea which is completely original to us. We pass it on, and they in turn pass it on until it is an idea held by a large number of people. That is progress of the human race. All our ideas started with just one person. From this we can see that so long as there are other people having these same thoughts, although all mixed up to accord with their own lives, then we will never die, just as the thoughts of other people live on in us. A good teacher not only teaches facts but inspires her pupils to great achievements in their own lives. Her inspirational ideas live on in her pupils and hopefully in their pupils if they become teachers. Lastly, but not least, I must mention our pets. We have had older dogs with their own peculiar behaviour. When younger dogs have been brought into the household, they too soon develop the same patterns of behaviour. When the older dog is no longer with us, the younger dogs still carry this on, although in some cases they are not related to the older dog at all. There are times when it just feels that a much loved pet is still with us.